Coming up on DC News Now at 4, a late-night house fire leaves more than a dozen Glenmont residents with nowhere to live. Their reaction tonight. And a major departure for the Washington Commanders. Defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio is out. What head coach Ron Rivera had to say about the change.
Some chilly air is on the way for Saturday. We'll let you know how long this colder air sticks around.
Then it's one of the busiest shopping days of the year. We've got Black Friday deals to stretch your dollar. Plus, a Northern Virginia business finding a creative way to keep your yard trimmed. These employees aren't sheepish over a hard day's work.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Good Friday afternoon. Thank you for joining us for DC News Now at 4. I'm Ben Dennis, in for Mark and Annalisa this evening. Happy Black Friday, everybody. We'll get to those top stories in just a moment, but we start, as always, with our weather. Taking a live look outside this afternoon. Beautiful. Seems a little bit breezy with our rooftop camera. Looking over our nation's capital, meteorologist Damon Madsen standing by. Damon, Black Friday, it was good and comfortable out there to get in the jog after all of that turkey yesterday, right?
Yeah, and some of these cooler temperatures, maybe not a bad thing for those folks rushing out to get those deals here today. Yeah, all in all, folks, it was just as comfortable today as it has been over the last couple of days, including on your Thanksgiving. Look at where those peak temperatures ended up not too long ago. Mid-50s. DC did reach 56 degrees. It was a little bit cooler elsewhere, though. We only had 52 for the high, Frederick, Leesburg, and then some 40s hung on across the Shenandoah Valley and into the Allegheny front. And now, with plenty of clouds rolling in across the region, and as we approach sunset, those temperatures are starting to fall off a little bit. Low 50s to the east and those mid to upper 40s back to the west. There's the cloud cover I was just talking about. Again, we had some filtered sunshine across the board early this morning, but as time wore on here through the day, a lot of that cloud cover really moved in across northern Virginia, southern Maryland, and DC in particular. But there is still a little bit of clear sky back off to the north. So as we roll on here into your Friday evening and Friday night, expect that same sort of setup with variable cloud cover, a little bit of clear sky, and no matter where you're at, those temperatures, they're going to be falling off as we head into the night, tumbling through the 40s, eventually ending up in the 30s as a little bit of a cold front passes through tonight, and will end up bringing in some much chillier air to kick off the weekend. Just how chilly are we talking for your Saturday, and could there be a warm-up anytime before the weekend comes to an end? We'll have a full look at your forecast in just a bit.
Plenty to cover. Damon, thank you. New details: a Thanksgiving night fire broke out in a home in Silver Spring, leaving more than a dozen people with nowhere to go. That call came in just before 10 p.m., and our Haley Mylon has learned the details.
Yeah, this is the house behind me. Right now, families are salvaging whatever they can. They tell me they felt threatened by one of their roommates last night, so they called 911. And they say shortly after, they were escaping the flames through doors and windows.
They have 4 kids. They don't have any place to go right in this situation.
A Thanksgiving night fire destroyed what was home to 15 people. Several families sharing this 6-bedroom house.
The cause of the fire is still under investigation. But as I said, the police had a person in custody that they've questioned.
People living here tell DC News Now that one of their housemates was acting in a threatening way. Call logs show that police were contacted around 8 p.m. and again later, after they say the man lit a couch on fire.
When they see that the fire, they start to move it out. Some people for the doors and some people for the windows.
The family, speaking through neighbor Christian Sanchez to translate from Spanish, asked to not be shown on camera. Montgomery County Police tell us they took a man to the hospital for an emergency evaluation petition. A counselor from the Embassy of Honduras was on site today, working to get the family's emergency support. Some of the people in the home say they have nowhere to go, late last night crashing with neighbors or sleeping in their cars.
And I'm told 2 cats also safely got out of the house. Now, fire officials say they will work with the county to try and find these families a place to stay tonight. In Montgomery County, Haley Mylon, DC News Now.
Our thanks to Haley. New details this afternoon. Overnight, the district reaching a grim milestone. DC has now seen more than 900 carjackings this year, which is more than double the number of carjackings from all of last year. We've seen those numbers surge, especially in recent months, with those committing the carjackings finding new ways to take advantage of car owners. D.C. police heat map shows a large number of those crimes taking place in far northeast and southeastern communities and the Northwest as well. And a closer look at those numbers. To date, there have been 901 carjackings this year. As of this day last year, there were 433, sizable difference. Armed carjackings, excuse me, 695 to date compared to 317 last year. What about arrests? Well, police data shows that a staggering 66% of arrests for carjackings this year have been juvenile offenders under 18 years old. D.C. police have made 157 arrests related to carjackings this year. Another alarming record, TSA reports as of November the 23rd, they stopped 30 guns from being brought through Reagan National Airport security. That's a yearly record. TSA says that guns can be transported if they are in a checked, hard-sided case, declared airport security, and unloaded. They also say if a gun is found, they must immediately alert Metro Airport Authority police, which could include up to a $15,000 fine and an arrest. Turning now to the Middle East, Hamas has reportedly released 24 hostages. None of them apparently are American. It comes during a 4-day ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. Israeli officials say 13 of their hostages have been released. And the Thai prime minister says that 12 Thai nationals were also released. And as part of the agreement, Hamas leaders said the group would release at least 50 hostages taken during the October 7th attack that started the war. Here's President Biden on the release today.
All of these hostages have been through a terrible ordeal, and this is the beginning of a long journey of healing for them. The teddy bears waiting to greet those children at the hospital are a stark reminder of the trauma these children have been through, and at such a very young age.
And we'll hear more from News Nation's Robert Sherman coming up at 4:30. And today is a shopper's dream or a nightmare, just depending on who you ask. Black Friday, thousands flocking to stores and popular websites for deals. Our DC News Now crew was out at Tyson's Corner Mall in McLean this morning, and the lines at the time already growing. And while shoppers braved those long lines and crowds, mall management said that they were ready for the big numbers and a return to pre-pandemic shopping.
We are back to our pre-pandemic levels. As a matter of fact, sales have far exceeded what we were seeing pre-pandemic. So the energy is great, the crowd is amazing. It's just a fantastic Black Friday experience.
Something new this year. If you work up a thirst with all that shopping, a sip and shop that has just started at the mall. The drinks go in a special cup, and retailers have signs by their front door to let shoppers know if they can let the drinks in or not. And if you're out and about today for Black Friday, don't forget that tomorrow it's Small Business Saturday. DC News Now Stephen Cohen has more from Western Maryland.
The National Retail Federation says consumer spending will grow maybe 3 to 4% this season, slower than usual. The question is, will shoppers be buying local?
Black Friday and Small Business Saturday can be a little challenging. After COVID, a lot of online shopping has happened, but where we differentiate from our competition is when you come in here, you get that specialized service.
Local shopper Mark Bergeron sees those advantages most of the time.
Those boutique type shops that you just can't find those things in a big box store. So we definitely like to hit those, support that local business. But on the other hand, we do that online shopping. We do hit some of the big boxes. There's a little bit of convenience there that you might not find in that selection.
Deb Williams puts local merchants on the top of her shopping list.
It does help support locals, and it's a good idea if you have gifts that you need to buy.
And as Paul Ring says, local merchants know their customer, like the wife making her Black Friday purchase.
When she comes in here, we know her and her husband. We know her husband's sizes. We can see what purchases he's already made and make sure that's a special Christmas gift just for him.
And with higher prices at the grocery store, student loans, and interest on credit card payments, consumers are being a little more cautious this year. Reporting from Hagerstown, Stephen Cohen, DC News Now.
This is Stephen, and DC is gearing up by offering a holiday challenge on Small Business Saturday. DC Mayor Muriel Bowser is encouraging residents to shop small and buy from local businesses with her hashtag #IBuyDC campaign. And here's how to participate. Buy from a local business and post a photo. Mention the business and use the hashtag #IBuyDC. And this challenge is in partnership with the Department of Small and Local Business Development. And some breaking sports news as the Washington Commanders have made some coaching changes following the team's loss to the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, a sizable one it was, firing their defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio. We bring in sports anchor Brandy Flores who's been following this story all day. Brandy, could we have seen this coming?
Yeah, Ben, we could have definitely seen this coming. It seems as if the Commanders getting blown out by their division rivals on Turkey Day was the last straw for defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio. The team announced that Del Rio and defensive backs coach Brent Wieselmeyer's time in Washington is done. Both were fired this morning, and head coach Ron Rivera will be taking over defensive play calling duties for the rest of the season. So with Del Rio and Wieselmeyer gone, Rivera will be focusing most of his time the rest of the season on the defense, with senior defensive assistant and safeties coach Richard Rogers assisting Rivera with game planning. Additionally, Christian Garcia will be elevated to defensive backs coach. Now, this firing does not come as a complete surprise. Washington's defense, particularly their secondary, has struggled tremendously this season. Under Del Rio, through 12 weeks, the defense ranks 29th in the league, giving up an average of 377.7 yards per game, and the Commanders have given up the most touchdowns by a defense with 39. Head coach Ron Rivera spoke to the media during a press conference earlier today, and he explained that this decision does not come lightly and that it has been one he has been thinking about for some time.
It's one of those things that as you watch things happen and unfold last night, you know, it was kind of that snowball. You know, it just kind of started again and just kept going, and I was concerned. I spent a lot of time last night and early this morning trying to go through this in my mind and just trying to figure out, you know, what else can be done. We're going to do things differently, though. I will tell you that much. When I say differently, it'd be from my perspective, the way I do things. You know, Jack did a great job, and I will tell you that I was in line with the things that he did. This is nothing about fighting or arguing or anything like that. This is just about the fact that, to Sam 48's question, if you don't change things, can you expect things to change?
Additionally, Washington's majority owner Josh Harris released the following statement this morning. It read in part, quote, "I feel exactly as our fans feel today, disappointed and frustrated. It's how our players and staff feel as well. As Coach Rivera and I discussed, all of our energy for the remainder of the season will be focused on playing better, more consistent football and developing our players while intently evaluating the areas in which we need to improve this offseason." With this statement by Josh Harris, it is clear that Ron Rivera will remain head coach of the Washington Commanders through the remainder of the season. The team will rest this weekend and prepare for their next home game against the #1 offense in the league, the Miami Dolphins. That game on December 3rd. Reporting in studio, Brandy Flores.